Hi guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhodes and I'm here to get you started on Unit 33, Words with a Soft G Ending. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your blue book open to page 203. You'll also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video and catch up. All right, so this week we are wrapping up our conversation about soft C and soft G words. This week we are focusing on words that contain a soft G in the second syllable. You'll notice that some of our words have a stressed first syllable, and some of them have a stressed second syllable. We'll be talking about that more in depth because that will affect how we pronounce the words. Let's start by reading our list though. As we do, listen for that J sound at the end of each word. Here we go. Arrange, bandage, college, damage, exchange, garage, garbage, language, luggage, manage, message, orange, package, sausage, and village. Did you hear that J sound over and over again? Great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose a color and we're going to look for words that end with this A-N-G-E chunk. There it is at the end of arrange. We see it again at the end of exchange. Notice in both of these words that second syllable is stressed and it's making a long A sound. Let's come over here and we're going to make a note. Green box equals A-N-G-E, and that's making a long A, ANGE sound. Arrange, exchange. Okay. Now, notice the word orange. That also ends with an A-N-G-E chunk. But this time, it is an unstressed syllable. Now we know what happens with unstressed syllables. They often morph into that schwa sound, that which is why here we hear orange. So over here, brown box equals A-N-G-E. But this time, instead of making a long A sound, it's going to make a schwa sound, unge. Notice you can still hear that N and J sound though, okay? So just keep that in mind. We don't actually have a lot of words that end with either of these patterns, but notice it's gonna make a big difference if it shows up in a stressed syllable or an unstressed syllable, okay? Also, I want you to notice that silent E, its only job is to keep that G soft. Without it, it would say orang, exchange, and orang. Okay, so that silent E, very important. All right, our most common pattern this week, though, is this AGE. When it shows up in an unstressed syllable, it's going to take on that schwa sound. So bandage ends with an uj sound. We see that again in damage, garbage, language, luggage, manage, message, package, sausage, and village. This is a really good chunk for you to learn because it shows up a lot in our language. When we hear a word that ends with uj, it's probably going to be spelled A-G-E. So over here, blue box equals A-G-E. And that, again, because it's in the unstressed syllable, in each of these words, it's going to have a schwa sound, an j sound. Okay? Now, what happens if that AGE shows up in a stressed syllable? Well, we see that here in garage. Whole new sound, right? That A sounds more like a short O, an ah. And that G, instead of making a J sound, sounds more like a Z. Okay? The reason for that is because this word comes from French and it still maintains its French pronunciation. So we have garage, we have massage, we have collage. So there are quite a few words in our language that maintain that age ending. So over here, pink box equals AGE. Again, that same chunk, but this time it's showing up in the stressed syllable, the part that we say a little bit louder and stronger. So instead of having a schwa sound, it's going to have a short O. And instead of having a J, it's going to have more of a Z sound, which can be represented by ZH. Z. Okay? All right, there's one word we haven't talked about yet, and it is this word right here. The word is college. Notice that second syllable is unstressed. It's making the same exact uj sound that we see in bandage and damage and garbage, but this time we're using EGE. Over here, brown box equals EGE, and it is making the same exact sound as AG. It's making a schwa j. Okay? Very weird. That's really the only word I can think of in our language that uses EGE instead of AGE. Okay? So just file that one away. Just memorize it as an exception. Okay, what I'd like to do now is go through our list, and as we do, let's label our parts of speech and define or describe what the words mean. So starting with arrange. That is a verb. It's something we do. When we arrange things, we sort them or we put them in order. Think about seating arrangements. If you're helping your cousin or your aunt plan a wedding, she's going to have to arrange all the tables. Put grandma and grandpa over here, put the neighbors over here. When you arrange things, you put things in order. A bandage is a noun. That's a covering for a cut or a wound. Depending on the size of the wound or the cut, you might need a small bandage or a large bandage. College, that's a noun. That's a place we go to further our education. So for college, I'm just going to write a learning place. Many people go to college right after they graduate from high school. They might enroll in a 2-year program or a 4-year program, but many adults go back to college later in life when they decide that they want to earn a degree. Now, damage can be used as a verb. If you damage something, you harm it. It can also be used as a noun if we're talking about the damage, okay? So if you have a leaky pipe coming down from your kitchen, that could damage the walls, the basement flooring, right? It will cause quite a bit of damage. Exchange is another verb. To exchange means to trade or swap out. So let's say you go to the store and you buy a pair of pants and you get home and you realize, ooh, these pants are really too tight, I need a bigger size, you can go back to the store and exchange those pants. You get the same exact pair, but in a different size. A garage is a noun. That's a place where we keep a car. So place to store a car. Some people have a 1-car garage, a 2-car garage. Some people don't have any garage, but it's a place where you can park cars. Garbage, you know what that is, right? That smelly old trash, things you throw away. Language is a noun. That's something that you speak. You might speak English, French, Chinese, Urdu. Those are all different types of languages. So I'm just going to call it a system of words. Okay. Luggage, that's another noun. That's suitcases, duffel bags, anything you put your clothes in when you're traveling from place to place. To manage, that's a verb. When you manage something, you control it. You make decisions about it, right? People on a diet are trying to manage their weight, make sure it doesn't get too high. A manager has control over the people in an office or a store. A message, that's a noun. These days we use it as a verb as well. We message people on our phones, through the internet, okay? So when you message someone, you send a communication to them. Orange is a thing if we're talking about the piece of fruit. It can also be used as an adjective if we're talking about the color, right? An orange shirt, an orange sunrise. A package is something, could be in a box, could be in a bag, something that gets delivered to you. Sausage is a type of meat. It could be ground up pork, ground up chicken, ground up beef. Sometimes comes in a link or a patty. And then a village is another noun. That's a town. So I want you to notice this week that when we see that AGE or that UJ ending, it's almost always going to be a noun, okay? An exception would be manage, which is a verb. When we see that ANGE ending, arrange, exchange, it's probably going to be a verb, especially if that second syllable is stressed. Okay, one more thing I want to discuss with you. I don't have any new prefixes or suffixes, but when you get to page 206, you're going to practice adding suffixes to some of your words this week, okay? This is an activity that we've only done a handful of times this year, but the reason we're working on it today is because this is a good review. When we add a suffix to a verb, we have to drop that silent E if our suffix starts with a vowel. So if I want to change manage to managed, I have to drop that E before I add ED. If I want to change manage to managing, I drop that silent E before I add ing. If I want to change manage to manager, same thing. I drop that silent E before I add ER. So these are my suffixes. Notice they all start with a vowel. Because they all start with E or I don't have to worry about my G. It'll maintain its soft J sound, right? Because we know that G always says J when it's followed by E, I, or Y, Okay, so when you complete this activity, you'll do fine. Just drop that E before you add your suffix. Now, here's something you might have noticed before though. What if I have a word like courage and I want to change it to courageous? This time I'm adding an OUS suffix, right? Again, it's a suffix that starts with a vowel, but because it starts with an O, and we know that O always follows hard G, we have to keep our E. If we get rid of that E, it's going to say courageous. Okay? So just keep that in mind in the future. All right? So this week, when we have a soft G ending followed by a silent E, we're going to drop that E when we add a vowel suffix that starts with E or I. In the future, if we're trying to add an OUS suffix, we're going to keep that E. Doesn't happen very often. Courageous, outrageous, advantageous, there's not a lot. Now, if I'm trying to add a suffix that starts with a consonant, let's say I want to change manage to management, I keep the E, right? I always keep my silent E when my suffix starts with a consonant. So you will see some examples of that on the bottom of the page. You'll see words like arrangement, management, I think that's it. So you'll keep that E because your suffix starts with a consonant. If I changed manage to manages, same thing, because my suffix starts with a consonant, I keep the E. All right? So hopefully that's not too tricky. This is something we've been revisiting over and over again this year. That's all I have for you right now. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.